Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice. Here we take up MCQs based on important news and articles from the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. Topics for today's discussion are displayed on your screen. Let's begin the discussion. The first question of today's discussion is based on page number 12 of the Hindu newspaper. The article says Law Ministry notifies judges' appointment in 4 high courts. 11 judicial officers and 2 advocates were on Thursday elevated as additional judges and judges in 4 high courts, including the Delhi High Court. The other 3 high courts are Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. Constitutional provisions are important from the UPSC perspective, as in 2019 question was asked on the provisions related to High Court and the Supreme Court. On similar lines, we have curated a practice MCQ. The question says, consider the following statements. Our first statement says the Constitution does not specify the strength of a High Court in terms of number of judges and leaves it to the Parliament of India. The statement is incorrect, as the Constitution does not specify the strength of a High Court but leaves it to the discretion of the President. Accordingly, the President then determines the strength of a High Court from time to time depending upon its workload. The second statement says Supreme Court propounded concept of the collegium system in the second judge's case of 1993. The statement again is incorrect. It was not in second judge's case but third judge's case that the Supreme Court propounded concept of collegium system in matters of appointment and transfer of judges in higher judiciary. Here you had to identify the correct statement, and from the above discussion neither of the statements are correct. Hence option D is the correct answer. Answer for this PYQ is also option D. The next question which we take up is based on the article which came on page number 9 of the Hindu newspaper. The article says Germany has shut down last of its nuclear power plants and France, a global nuclear power, is struggling due to the lack of stock. Today, with solar and wind power becoming more popular, questions are being raised on nuclear power as a clean alternative to fossil fuels due to the concerns related to the cost and safety. UPSC has been asking questions on renewable energy, and nuclear energy being part of it is an important area, as in 2018 question was asked on the consequences of a country becoming the member of a nuclear suppliers group. On similar lines, we have framed a practice MCQ on the nuclear energy. The question says, consider the following statements. Our first statement says Tarapur nuclear power plant is India's first commercial nuclear power plant. Now this statement is correct, as Tarapur atomic power station is located in Palghar, Maharashtra. It was the first commercial nuclear power station built in India. The second statement says the share of the nuclear power in the total electricity generation in country is about 10%, which is the incorrect statement, as according to the Department of Atomic Energy, the share of nuclear power in the total electricity generation in the country is about 3.15% and not 10%. The third statement says Kudankulam nuclear power station is India's largest nuclear power plant, which is established in collaboration with Russia. Now this statement again is correct, as the Kudankulam nuclear power station is located in Tamil Nadu and it is India's largest nuclear power station. The power station is a collaboration between the Russian state company and the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. Here you had to identify the correct statement, and from the above discussion, statement 1 and 3 are correct. Hence option D is our correct answer. Answer for this previous year question is option A. Our third question is based on the news article which came on page number 10 of the Hindu newspaper. Recently, World Meteorological Organization in its report State of Global Climate 2022 stated world sea level is rising at an unprecedented rate, having disastrous consequences for the weather, agriculture, etc. The report has also focused on the consistent rise in global temperature and also has highlighted the recent record rainfall in Pakistan to the issue. Questions related to the ecology and environment and the related developments, initiatives and reports are important from the UPSC perspective, as in 2020-22 we have seen question was asked on the Climate Action Tracker initiative. On similar lines, we have curated a practice MCQ. The question is about the World Meteorological Organization as it has been mentioned in the news. The first statement says it is a specialized agency of the United Nations limited to the study of atmospheric patterns. The statement is only partially correct. The World Meteorological Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations. However, WMO is dictated to international cooperation and coordination on the state and behavior of the Earth's atmosphere, also its interaction with the land and oceans, the weather and climate it produces, and the resulting distribution of the water resources. Coming to the second statement, all data collected by WMO is based on the legal consent given by the member nation. This statement again is incorrect, as WMO facilitates and coordinates on Earth system approach to the gathering and free exchange of observations, promotion and integration of research and development, and delivery of services. The third statement is correct. State of World Climate and the Greenhouse Gas Bulletin are published by the World Meteorological Organization. Here you had to identify the correct answer. Option A is the correct answer. Answer for this PYQ is also option A. The next question of today's session is based on the news article which appeared on page number 17 of the Indian Express. The article talks about GST. Finance Ministry is considering to bring differential tax treatment for online games in nature of betting or gambling. The GST Council has taken up the matter for discussion. Taxation regime of India is an important part of UPSC syllabus, as in 2018 question was asked on the items which are exempted under the GST regime. Here we have made a practice MCQ on the GST Council. The statement says consider the following statement. The first statement says the Council decides on the goods and services to be excluded or included and various tax slabs. The statement is correct, as the Council, according to Article 279, is meant to make recommendations to the Union and states on important issues related to GST, like the goods and services that may be subjected or exempted from GST. It also decides on various rate slabs of GST. The second statement says suggestion made by the Council needs a 2/3 majority. This statement is incorrect, as the suggestions made by the Council need a 3/4 majority and not 2/3 majority. Also, the Council must have at least 50% members present and to be able to hold a meeting and make recommendations. The central government's vote counts on 1/3 of the total votes, while the weightage of states' total votes are 2/3. Coming to the last statement, which says the recommendations made by GST Council are binding. This statement again is incorrect, as the recommendations made by the GST Council are not binding. The Supreme Court has said that Article 246A of the Constitution gives both Parliament and state legislatures simultaneous power to legislate on GST, and recommendations of the Council are the product of a collaborative dialogue involving the Union and states. Here you had to identify the correct statements. From the above discussion we had, it is clear that option C is the correct answer. Answer for this PYQ is also option C. The next question of today's session is based on the news article which appeared on page number 21 of the Indian Express. The dispute over South China Sea is again in news. Philippines has confronted China on the issue. South China Sea is a strategically important region where an estimated $5 trillion global trade transits annually. Therefore, the region is also involved in disputes over the maritime and the island claims between the region's sovereign states. UPSC has been consistently asking questions on the places in news and the regions which are in conflicts. As in 2020-22, question came on similar lines. Here you had to identify region often mentioned in news with the countries. Similarly, we have curated a practice MCQ. The question says consider the following pairs. Here you have to identify the conflict region in news with the countries involved. Our first pair is correct. As over the Scarborough Shoal, the countries Philippines, China and Taiwan are all putting their claims. Our second pair is incorrect, as Tigray is the northernmost regional state in Ethiopia and it is bordered by Eritrea to the north, Sudan to the west and Amhara region to the south. The war over the region in 2020 was fought between Ethiopia and Eritrea on one side and the Tigray People's Liberation Front on the other. Our third pair is correct, as Donetsk and Lugansk region, collectively the Donbas region, is a conflict area between Russia and Ukraine. The fourth pair is incorrect. The Abyei area is an area on the border between South Sudan and Sudan. This has been in news recently because of the civil war in Sudan. Our fourth pair is incorrect. Recently, Sudan has been in news because of the civil war, and the Abyei area is an area on the border between South Sudan and North Ethiopia and Eritrea. You had to identify the correct pairs, and from the discussion we had, option C is the correct answer. Answer for this PYQ is option B. The last question of today's session is based on the news article which appeared on page number 17 of the Indian Express. The article mentions that at the Asia initiative of the Global Forum of Transparency and Exchange of Information for the Tax Purpose, India has expressed that common reporting standards should widen its scope to include the non-financial assets under the automatic exchange of information among the OECD countries. Now, international and national initiatives to place a curb on the black money or money laundering and related laws has become important from the UPSC perspective. For example, in 2020-21, question appeared on the black money and the main cause of worry for the government of India. Similarly, we have curated a practice MCQ. The question says, with reference to the Global Forum on the Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes, consider the following statements. The first statement says it provides for a multilateral response to tackle offshore tax evasion by implementing a single standard for exchange of information. The statement is incorrect, as it has provided for the two complementary international standards, both of which provide for closer cooperation between the tax authorities worldwide. The first standard, agreed and implemented, provides for the international exchange of information on request, whereas the second provides for the international automatic exchange of information, where a predefined set of information on financial accounts held by non-residents is automatically exchanged each year. The second statement says the forum's jurisdiction is limited to members of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. This statement again is incorrect, as the Global Forum provides a multilateral response to tackle offshore tax evasion. It brings together over 160 jurisdictions and India is also a member. Here you had to identify the correct statement from the above two statements. From the above discussion, option D becomes the correct answer. Answer for this PYQ is option D.